Mirrors are freaky.
Mirrors are freaky.
Yeah. Woo. Ooh. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer90.com. Check out all the latest FC Dallas, North Texas SC, and U.S. men's national team gear. And this week, grab the latest arrival, a Dallas Tornado jersey. White jersey, blue trim, the number 67 on the front. This is a classic. It's a banger. This is the latest in Soccer 90's Dallas Tornado collection. Use the code Third Degree for 20% off for everything, including the Dallas Tornado jersey. Some exclusions will apply, but that Tornado jersey you can get on the discount, and it is sweet. Grab yourself one.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas curious fans, and welcome to episode number 204 of Third Degree, the podcast. Hi, it is me, Peter, tagging along with, as described recently in the Discord as the angry British dude, Dan Crooke.
What the fuck?
Howdy, Dan.
Wow, that wasn't overmodulated at all.
Hey, I just thought I'd fit the bill for a second.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's okay. That's kind of it's good to have somebody have an opinion of you, right?
A personality.
Yeah, you got a personality. If it's got to be the angry British dude, then so be it.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Is that you have a personality? Yeah. Oh, you've got a great personality. It's almost as good as your beard. I think your beard is better than your personality, but not by much.
I'll take that.
Okay, very good. And it's your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, founder and editor of thirddegree.net for the last 2,700 years, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, Peter. I have to tell you that the podcast and the website in general made a small sacrifice today because I found out on Monday that a member of the crew I was on this weekend tested positive for COVID. And so you think we're through these things, but if I was exposed on Saturday or Sunday, I chose to not go to FC Dallas training this morning. Just to be on the safe side. I felt like that would have been irresponsible on my behalf. I mean, granted, I would have stood away from people, but at some point I would have talked to coach, so.
Look at you.
Sorry, everybody. I chose to not go. So that's why there won't be a training report in today's thing. And maybe that's overly protective, but, we're talking about a bunch of professional people getting paid a whole lot of money, and I didn't think I should risk that. So hopefully I was negative. I did test myself. I am negative, but I will test myself again before this weekend when I'm going to go to Dallas Cup and the game and stuff. So
because Buzz would never ask this of the pod listener, I will do it. Please immediately send all of your emails and tweets and direct messages to one Gina Miller, informing her of the fact that Buzz stayed away from training because he was being cautious and thoughtful about being exposed to COVID, and he took one for the team, and you just wanted to let her know that to make sure that she was aware.
No,
okay?
that's
you.
not necessary. I just wanted, when people were like, well, I didn't have a training report.
Stop, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
It's totally 100% necessary. Don't you
Okay.
agree, Dan?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Okay, we have a lot to discuss today. First off, we will get into LAFC 2, FC Dallas 1. But really, the big story that came out of that game was in the hour preceding it, the visual of the graphic missing one Mr. Sebastian Lletget from not only the 11, but from the 18 or whatever the number is you're allowed to take to games this day. And when asked, I believe it was the good Garrett Melcher who on Twitter announced that it was for quote-unquote personal reasons. And we all now know what that is about, don't we, Buzz?
Yeah, I can't believe we're at this stage of FC Dallas dumb, 27 years in.
Dumb.
Where,
emphasis dumb.
Yeah, where, a player in the relationship with his pop star girlfriend has caused an issue with the team sheet. Listen, people have personal issues from time to time, and there probably have been cases, I'm sure, in the history of FC Dallas where personal things have gotten involved. I can think of several off the top of my head, in fact.
Yep.
But not some that took place on a global media stage before.
Where TMZ,
Yeah.
CNN, E.
Yeah. Where FC Dallas is mentioned in the context of whatever, and none of our business or my business really, other than how it affects the team sheet. It's a weird place to be in, honestly, to see this play out on such a broad. I mean, imagine, if you will, I think almost all of us in our lives at one time or another have had relationship difficulties of some kind or another. Imagine having had it play out in your life on such a global media stage. I can't even imagine what that must be like.
Well, okay, but that also comes with the territory of being both an international pop star and a dude who has largely been unafraid of running around shirtless, preening off his super hot body on the internet for the last several years. So that comes with that territory.
It does.
Right? So,
yeah, but that territory is new for us to be. I mean, not that we're involved.
Oh,
but
as
just
fans,
for FC
yeah.
Dallas, and it's a new level of territory. I think I don't remember anything close to this level of nuttiness before in terms of media and it's a modern social media world too. So of course we didn't have such things.
Yeah,
but
the only things that have come up that I think even got close to getting kind of like national attention was the Dan Quinn incident.
Yeah.
When he was GM of the club.
Fair.
And the Reggie Cannon incident.
Close.
Right?
Yeah.
Those would be the only two. Dan, can you think of any other that would?
I'll throw in Jesse Gonzalez since you didn't mention that one.
Yeah. Okay. I think
maybe.
Yeah.
Locally, anyway, probably,
Yeah.
but not this level.
Again, turning to Dan Crooke for his input on this topic.
I'm trying to think real hard about this one. No, I think you've covered them.
Okay. All right. So it is a ridiculous situation. I will report that in the hours before Sebastian released his Instagram statement, I had this all collides with me toying around with ChatGTP and Midjourney, and Dan, I don't know if you saw it or not. But I actually had ChatGTP write a story about the fateful night Becky G fans stormed Toyota Stadium and burned it to the ground when they couldn't find Sebastian Lletget because they wanted his head.
I saw that was that was pretty impressive. Now I get the ChatGPT part, but but when you post the podcast special of how you actually did it, I'm really interested about the AI image deal. And there's AI video ones now as well, which would be
yes. I didn't. I haven't toyed with it.
sequel.
Yeah, I haven't toyed with the AI video, but basically, without boring everybody with the technical jargon, it's just essentially typing in a bunch of prompts, and the more detailed you get, the better the photos you get. And they do look like photorealistic news photos of angry Latino women battling with security guards at Toyota Stadium, and then there's an image of Toyota Stadium up in flames, and it's pretty hilarious. And then, of course, I felt really bad about that after Sebastian Lletget posted his tale of mental illness and struggling with things and getting into therapy and all of that stuff. And really what we should be spending our time on, Buzz, is the conversation about how is this going to ultimately end up. While we worry about Sebastian and we want everything to work out for the lovely couple, I think, if we're all just being honest of our selfish FCD fandom, we just want to make sure that he's balling out on the field.
Yeah, coach says that he's training every day Sebastian is with the team, and that he is available for selection and is capable of playing this weekend. Coach acknowledged what Lletget had said about mental health and such, and that they're there to support him. So, there's a question, of course, between, is he healthy and training with the team, and says that he's ready to go, and then the coach actually picking him. So that remains to be seen. There's nothing on paper that keeps him out of the game this weekend. One of my disappointments of not being able to go to training today was to be able to see how he was carrying himself. So we're going to have to just kind of stay tuned. I know that there are some people, let's call it in the atmosphere of the team, not no one working with the team said anything to me, but I know there are people that are concerned whether how soon he'd be able to play, that it might be a while.
Yeah.
That's what we were worried, was that it could be a while. It was comforting in a way to hear that, okay, he's well enough in terms of his mental state to be able to train and be ready and cleared to play. So this is going to be a big, we'll see. If anyone's day to day right now, it's Sebastian Lletget. So we'll find out this weekend, I guess, what everybody else does whenever he is actually on the game day roster or not. And it's a home game, so there's no travel squad, so we can't look for that. We'll have to look and see if he's showing up at the stadium ready to go.
Well, as a bonus treat for the end of the episode, I may decide to actually do the audio book version of the fateful April 9th. If you'd like, Buzz.
Maybe we could save it and see how it goes with their relationship before we burn things to the ground.
It's just an AI generated story,
No,
Buzz.
fair
It's
enough.
not true.
Fair enough. So, it's not now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have any thoughts or insight into this ridiculous drama?
No.
I mean, you're the angry British dude, so come on.
No, I just I hope I saw some people talking about his talk of mental health was a kind of a deflection away from what he did. I hope it's not that. I hope if there really is a mental health aspect to it, that he is seeking the help that he needs, that talking to someone is a wonderful thing to do, and ultimately that he gets back on the field and playing well.
So I guess that's the perfect segue to talking about the game late Saturday night in LA. To not have, I don't really know, out of the three people that were missing from the starting 11, which was Sebastian, Paxton Pomacall, which we kind of thought was going to happen, and then the other surprise, Martinez. Would we say that Sebastian may have been the biggest miss of the three, Buzz?
Well, I think so. I had predicted during the week that I thought Ibiaka would get the start because he's a little more athletic.
It's his former team.
And his former team. So that wasn't a big blow that Martinez was out. I didn't think, because I would have thought they would have made the other choice anyway. And Paxton obviously could go because he was on the bench. Lletget's the one that dismantled everything you're planning. If you're missing one guy in the midfield, you can probably get away with an adaptation, but we're missing two guys. You've just dismantled this whole system is built around this 8-8 look. And you take both those guys out of there and you're in trouble. They tried an adaptation that may or may not have been a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. I consider the fact it was two holding mids that it was a double pivot 4-2-3-1, but it meant you had to go with Facundo and Edwin together, which is not necessarily a great combo for progressive play. And this team's built around progressive play, that rapid forward movement passing combinations, the quick ball movement. So that was a struggle. I don't, however, think that those two guys missing, Lletget or Paxton, caused the outage that was the first 15 minutes of the game.
Boy, that was a miserable 15 minutes.
It was brutal. And I don't think those two guys missing is why it's brutal. I think the brutality came from mental state of, you're missing two good leaders on your team, so that hurts a little, but that's not enough for this. You're at LAFC, maybe that's it. You never won there. They're the defending champs. Maybe you're just not confident in yourselves. Why it took them 15 minutes to sort of wake up and realize that maybe they can play with these guys is an interesting question. And the coach is going to probably address that. And he talked about that kind of thing. And again, it comes back to the word for the year, which is mentality. And that is a positive takeaway, that they did wake up eventually and realize they could play with LA. So that's the positive takeaway, if you will, is that they did wake up for a while until they were down a man.
All right. So Dan, am I incorrect in saying that I have a perception that if I had one knock on Nico as a manager, his team seemed to have a consistency to them of coming out starting slow?
I think that's totally fair to say. If they don't score in the first 10 minutes, they, kind of suck for the first half, really.
Yeah. Buzz, do you have any idea why you think that is? I mean, you've been around so many of these teams and all of the managers, frankly.
Yeah.
What is it about how a guy runs a team that gets a team ready to go from the jump?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think Nico's a relatively soft-spoken guy. He's not a big cheerleader. Oscar was a big cheerleader.
Right.
So his teams often started hot, and ready, I think, and maybe even too ready and maybe burn out occasionally. So this coach is a little bit more of a game plan and, tactics kind of talker. From my experience, I'm not in the locker room pregame, but just from hearing what he's talking about, I have asked him about, does he ever just absolutely rip the team a new one? And he said, yeah, sure. He said, but it depends on what he thinks is necessary in the given moment. And I don't think he's the one, as I say, to be a big build-up pregame guy. I think he's, because of his background, which is in these little more advanced professional leagues and not here like coming through an American college system or something or through a youth club here, he doesn't really sometimes have this pregame rah everybody up pep rally kind of vibe. He has you're a pro, take care of your business kind of vibe. And maybe that can lead to you being a little flat. Maybe he does need to give a little pep talk rally occasionally. Or maybe he still just has a relatively young team and they don't necessarily have the complete self-belief yet until they get out there and find out that maybe they do have what it takes. So, it's difficult to pin down because none of us are in the locker room consistently with this coach enough to know, whether it be halftime or pregame, either one. It's a complicated question, but I think that's the answer, is that he's more of a tactical analyzer. They give them the guys a whole lot of data and watch a lot of tape, and sometimes it might be necessary to throw a couple trash cans around, maybe even in the pregame.
So, I mean, to your point, Buzz, the team did feel like it got its act together 15, 20 minutes into the game. Things got a lot more even. It felt like it wasn't a total surprise, I don't think, when Dallas scored. It only was a surprise in how it was scored. Again, it was your center back duo of that particular game scoring, which, by the way, brings up this interesting stat. Dallas has scored 7 goals this season in 5 games. 28% of those goals were assisted and scored by your center back duo, which is 2 of the 7 goals, which I don't know if we could have ever said that before in a Dallas season. That's not a criticism. It's just an interesting factoid.
Yeah, and not like headers either.
No.
It's been with their feet, which is kind of weird, but particularly because neither one of the defense in general is not particularly great passers either. Nikosi's probably better than Ibiaga, but neither one of those guys is as good as Matt Hedges was. So it's
and the first one was Tafari to Ibi, and the second one was Ibi to Tafari, right? Yeah, that's how those went.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a really weird happenstance. What I would say about it, I think, is that Nico's a big fan of overloads. And so when you do get these plays that when the center backs are up, for set plays and things go sideways, which is kind of what some of these have been and some of them not, but he is big on getting those guys into good positions and overloading positions. So that can happen both in the run of play and on set pieces. And this team's a lot better at set pieces than they have been in the past. Just Velasco can take some good ones. We've seen some effective corners. We've seen some different kinds of plays happening, and those can be byproducts of weirdly center backs going up rather than outside backs going up. This coach doesn't send outside backs up like everybody else does. He tends to more occasionally sneak those center backs up, and that's kind of catching people off guard, maybe.
Dan, did you have any other thoughts about particular player performances or anything about the LAFC game you wanted to get into?
There was a solid contribution to when playing it out of the back goes wrong. Really, the world of football will certainly be thankful for that.
Yeah.
And that second goal. How do you get nutmegged from pretty much on the touchline?
Yeah, Ibi, in his return back to his last team, did not shower himself in glory, and it does continue to raise the question if Dallas is still in the need for another center back. Or does it, Buzz? Am I
Yes.
just panicking?
No, they do. Yeah, no question. It's not really a debate. It's true.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you had to start two, it's Tafari and Martinez?
No, it's Tafari, and whichever one makes more sense for the tactics. I think Martinez has just as many deficiencies as Ibiaga. You try and cover up through matchups those deficiencies. You try and use the guy that makes the most sense. Martinez is better at playing out of the back than Ibiaga, but not remarkably so. Martinez is a little bit better at game reading than Ibiaga. Ibiaga's got more recovery pace and more ups and more physicality. So it just depends on what the matchup calls for that you're going to see whichever one start with Tafari. It's going to be that way until they can figure out how to process in a center back. I still think that's going to be the number one thing they're going to go for. The defense is doing a decent enough job this year. The turnovers are what's killing them. It's the inability to play out of the back. So a high press, which LAFC did, and then the other bugaboo is these mid to low blocks. LAFC did not do that part. So Dallas was able to play a little bit through the midfield, except, of course, they didn't really have a midfield because they didn't have their guys. So a team that does both those things is real problems. If they do one or the other, it's a problem. So as long as they keep having these two big issues, they're not going to be competing at the top of the league. And a center back that can pass is going to be a big part of solving one of those issues, the high press troubles, and because the loss of Matt Hedges is bigger in this specific area than in any other area. He's a really good passer. So,
all right, you can edit this out if you've already said this or explained this. Why was Martinez not in the 18?
He hurt his knee.
And do we have any idea how long that's out? He's out for?
No, they have not said. So the only reason we know that is because it was mentioned by Meltzer or in one of the articles. I can't remember which one. Probably
okay.
Meltzer.
So your backup center back is the kid that was playing in Croatia from Arlington, the Korka kid, right?
Yeah, but only because Nolan was with the U.S. U19s. Otherwise, I think it would have been Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether they would put in Corsa or not, it's entirely possible that if they were actually missing a guy and needed another center back, they would have done something else emergency. I don't know that they would have said, oh, yeah, put Corsa in. That's the answer. That guy's getting better and he's showing in training, but there's a reason why he's like fifth and starting for North Texas. It's not necessarily the best answer like game 5. Game 5, the answer might have been Facundo at center back or something, who knows?
All right, the other big talking point of the game, obviously, is the red card in the 35th minute, and I'm like everybody else in this deal, highly frustrated over this. I think for the obvious reason is this feels like the perfect example of VAR intervening unnecessarily and giving a referee too many slow motion, repeated looks of an incident. Freeze frame it, slow-mo it, Zapruder it to death, and then eventually he just talks himself into, okay, yeah, it's a red. When he was perfectly positioned and looking right at it in real time, and all of his probably 15, 20 years of training had told him, oh, that's a yellow card. And I'm really, really frustrated by that. And then we found out today, Tuamasi also got a fine for not leaving quick enough. I don't know. It really messed up the game, and I don't like to complain about referees and stuff, but this is the one element of the addition of VAR that drives me maybe the most batty, is this specific type of incident.
Yeah, I think this is the one sort of big downside of the VAR that you're going to have to live with if you like the rest of it, is the over analyzing in slow-mo of things like this. This is, by the way, why they usually replay them in full speed. Like if you watch the little monitor, they roll them back and forth real time, not usually really slow, because things always look worse in slow-mo.
But they didn't hear. I mean, they played it for him. I swear I counted 10, 11 times. They replayed it, slow-moed it, and freezed it on a specific frame for the guy.
Was that the Apple TV or was that the VAR?
Yeah, that's Apple TV.
Well, I assume that Apple TV, the production is showing what they're showing him.
No.
Ah, okay.
No,
because it's in that frame up of the two. It's the image of him standing looking at the monitor, and you can kind of see what he's looking at, and it's the box on the left.
Yeah, well, and if they've done that correctly, that's true. But Apple doesn't necessarily show the replays they're showing are not necessarily the ones that VAR is showing. VAR has its own recorders and its own playback. Now, the double box thing, or triple box or whatever it was, that's supposed to be the feed that he's looking at. So whether he said 10 or 11 or just 1 or 2, I don't know. I don't remember it that specifically. I'd have to go look at it. But, like if you're watching a full screen Apple TV and they're just showing replays full screen, that's just them in the truck showing replays. That's not VAR.
Well, I may be conflating their replays and the VAR replays into the number, but I will attest that watching him in the double box replay, watch the video, his body language changes as he goes and keeps seeing it. I'm convinced he talked himself into it.
Oh no, I agree with that part. I'm just saying that like when the foul first happens and then you see 5 slow-mo replays of the elbow going in, that's just Apple TV. That's not.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I will say, I mean, they Pro releases that review of the week thing, whatever it is, on Fridays, and they've actually they've moved it out to their website now. They don't post the direct YouTube link anymore. But I watched last week's for the pass incident, the penalty that was called back for offside, and on that one they didn't even show a clip. They just showed a straight freeze frame. Now that was for offside, so I don't know if there's a different, if maybe that's why, but they were certainly, it wasn't just a case of here's the clip, watch it.
Well, so we won't see the one for this until later this week?
I think it's Friday.
Okay. All right. Well, it's unfortunate. It screwed up the game. But I do want to turn to the person, Buzz, that I thought had, again, I haven't looked at the numbers or the stats, but by the old school eyeball test, I thought Edwin Cerrillo was outstanding in this game.
Yeah, I joked in the breakdown that I continued my Edwin Cerrillo glory campaign, something like that I said, because I felt like the same thing. I felt like he was really good, and I do have a few numbers for you. So he was at number 91% passing, which was tied for first for Dallas. 69 touches, which was first. 53 passes, tied for first. 11 duels, tied for second. 35 carries, first. 3 progressive carries, first, and 6 recoveries, which was third. So he actually had a couple fouls, a couple of tackles. That's for you. I put that in there right there. So.
Hey, thanks, Edwin.
Yeah.
He's been listening to the pod, clearly.
I could do a whole thing about that kerfuffle last week about the tackles, because I immediately had like 18 people quote stats at me, and they didn't listen to what I said at all. But I thought Edwin was terrific in this game again. So, granted, remember, everything's in context. And when I always say Edwin's doing terrific and he's doing really well, I don't mean he's going to be an all-star. I'm just saying that like his progression continues. And for a young guy coming out of the academy who does not have the big, massive European superstar upside of some of these other kids that come out and do, he's continued to make progress every year. And right now he's keeping in, other than this weird game because of Lletget and Paxton, Edwin's keeping Facundo out of the lineup, and he's doing it for like a quarter of the amount of money. So kid's playing really well. I really like where his head's at. I like the progress he's making. I like the direction he's heading in. I'm pretty confident he's going to be a pretty good MLS player over his career. So.
Yeah, he had a moment where he got a ball and beat a couple of people out on wide on the left, and he carried the ball way down the field. He just looked – it was like a whole different element to his game. I just had never – I don't recall seeing him put out before. I don't know if you remember the specific moment I'm thinking of, but
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, he took on a couple people, he beat them, he raced down the line. It didn't turn into anything, but it was just like, wow, look at Edwin carry. That's almost Paxton Pomacall-esque. It was pretty impressive. All right, any other performances from the game that you want to get into?
Well, I just want to mention that Edwin is not a hard ass. Edwin is a nice young man, and he does take a little bit of kid gloves, right? If you get on him and are really negative, if he's feeling down on himself, he doesn't play well. He plays much better when he's confident, when he's feeling good. You remember when he came out of the U20 World Cup and he had a bad World Cup and he was really terrible for a couple of months after that?
Yeah.
He gets in kind of these funks. And so when he's playing confidently and the coach is telling him he's playing well and everybody else is telling him he's playing really well, it tends to reinforce that and build on that. And so that's why you're seeing him do things that he doesn't usually do, is because of that. And then the other performance I wanted to bring up was Nkosi Tafari. Beyond the goal, I just want to reinforce how outstanding he was. I think he's just having an absolutely amazing year. And I asked Coach about him specifically today on the conference call. And Coach said that a lot of it just is because Nicosi sort of made an adjustment last year in the sense of mental state in training, in his life, and sort of just really becoming totally dedicated and focused on being one of the best center backs in this team. And coach said that he thinks that Nicosi's capable of being one of the best center backs in the league, and he's got a ways to go on that, but he thinks that he has the potential in him, and he's really played him up in terms of where he is in his state of mind this year and how much that matters from the gradual progression since coach got here and where the guy is now. And it's great to see a guy finally come good on what we thought was his talent, no matter who it is. When that happens, it's really exciting. It's fun.
Is there anybody else listening to this pod, or either of you, that are equally as distracted as I am when you realized what Tafari is doing is wearing a bull ring nose piercing in a professional soccer match?
I did last week, and I noticed it. I was like, is he wearing it? Does he have it taped up? I was like, that seems really annoying. Because he kept fiddling with it that first game.
know.
I was like, it's got to be annoying. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a big enough hole that it's safer to play with it taped up than to take it out. So.
Yeah, I can totally believe that. I just would find it really distracting trying to play with that thing.
Well, I would just be worried about somebody's hair or finger or hand getting caught in it and pulling it out.
I guess that's why they tape it up, I guess. I don't know.
And then, of course, his partner also has sizable, I guess, gauge earrings in or something going on because Ibby has giant pieces of tape over the bottom of both of his earlobes.
Yeah, I'm not a piercing guy, so I'm
not either.
I just empathy for him, but yeah,
I just find it weird that guys are wearing piercings, and when I just was worried that something's going to happen. We're going to get.
I never understood Valderrama when his 50 necklaces, wrist bands and bracelets. And I was like, how is that allowed? Someone didn't get their fingers in that and break a finger or something? It's like,
because it was Valderrama.
It was Valderrama, yeah. Special rules for Valderrama. He wasn't exactly running.
You were more likely to get hurt by his hair than anything he was wearing around his neck.
I mean, Valderrama Alvarez, that's the all-time hair midfield.
Oh, yeah.
6'10" combo, just ridiculous.
Kids listening to the pod, look it up. The Colombian national team, circa 1986, 1987, 98, somewhere in there. The all-hair team.
No one will ever convince me that if Rene Higuita doesn't get suspended, that they don't win the World Cup.
Oh, fair.
That changes everything if he's not suspended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tangent.
Yes, we went off on a tangent.
Yes. Still talking about the game now?
Yeah. Well, sorry. Oh, sorry, angry British man. We got away from the footy. All right. Well, let's get into that, because I will say, if there was a bright side to the Emma red card, meant that Javier Obrian got taken off the field, and that
was nice. Because the only thing that he did in the game, positive or negative, was stand in an offside position for that disallowed goal.
Yeah, for Castillo's banger.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was an easily savable shot if he wasn't blocking the keeper's view, let's be honest.
Yeah, I thought the offside call was legit and fair, and it was Obrian just, in the wrong place at the wrong time, which seems to happen a lot. Buzz, I do, as this season goes along, I do worry that we're gonna look back after the season is over, and we're gonna say, them not getting a better option other than Javier Obrian to play out on the wing is somehow going to end up being one of those things that bites them in the ass in the long run.
Well, what I would say about that is that, I mean, it's not like the coach doesn't see that the guy's not playing well, and yet he's still going with him and not going with Kamungo. I mean, Tree Scott's hurt. Obviously, maybe that was a factor, but, whatever the other options are, they obviously don't feel they're more appealing. There's definitely, a lot of it is because of him, but a lot of it also is because of his teammates. Because he played 40 minutes and he had 9 touches. So it's like you're not passing on the ball, obviously. And by comparison, Giovanni Jesus, who came in for him, he played 49 minutes, so a couple more minutes. But he had 32 touches. That's like triple, right? So it's not just Obrian. It's like people aren't passing on the ball either. Those two things are probably compounding each other. There's just a massive, massive disconnect between Obrian and the team. I'm sure some of it's his creation, but some of it also, I think you have to talk to the coaches about why is it so bad. But it's definitely there. It's definitely not just that he's not playing well. That can certainly. It reminds me of cases in the I remember a case in the past, maybe 3 years ago, where Paxton one time picked the ball up in the middle and turned to the left wing. And whoever was on left wing, he took one look at him 40 yards wide open and said, nope, and turned back in the middle and dribbled into like a triple team. Whoever it was. He's just
good Lord.
Yeah, I don't want to bag on who that was because I don't even remember, honestly. But the point was, like, sometimes it can be like that where guys are just like, I'm just not passing it to that guy. There have been cases like that, too, in the past. There have been times on this team where teams will just not pass to a guy because they don't think he can do it. You know,
now it's driving me nuts. I can't think of that kid's name.
I know you remember the play.
The Colombian kid that showed up, and then the next season he showed up. His face changed so much we couldn't figure out who it was. Mascara. It was Mascara.
Yeah.
Or wait, no. Was it the guy that hit the banger in the preseason and then never did anything ever again?
Oh, I know who you mean. The name's dribbling out of my brain, but yeah, it might have been that guy too. It was one of the two. It doesn't matter who it was. The point
It was one of the multitude of left wingers that have come and gone out of this club in the last 10 years.
It was the one right after Mascara, I think. But the point is that there are times where people won't pass to somebody on the team because they know that the ball's not coming back out.
Yeah.
Well, that's partially on O'Brien. It's partially on the rest of the team too. It's that it's not working, and it makes the team lopsided when he's in there. You know, so everyone's going to get their wish that Giovanni Jesus is going to start, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, it sucks to lose. I mean, look, LA's a tough place to go play. They're a good team. Hell, they even got one of their international call-ups to show up at the last second, an hour before game time, suit up, sub in, and bang the goal, which was, as to Dan's point, not a good showing for Mr. Ibby. But
no, I said it wasn't a good showing for Mr. Paz.
Oh, I thought that was... I thought Paz got screwed up because Ibby tried to block the ball. I thought Paz probably had it.
Well, no,
it came off of Ibby's knee, didn't it?
No, he never touched it. Paz just didn't react, and it went straight through his legs.
Ah, okay. Well, maybe he was distracted by the idea that his girlfriend was coming back to Dallas after a month and a half out of town.
I was going to actually bring that up because somebody said on Discord earlier, I hope that doesn't distract him. But, I mean, he shipped a pass that led to the first goal. He got nutmegged from 20 yards from an impossible angle. And,
Okay.
Yeah, not like he gave me pass.
Well, you know, I got to admit, if she was my girlfriend, I'd be distracted too. And she'd been out of town for 6 weeks.
You know, hopefully now she's in town. Hopefully he'll be back on the game. That'd be great.
Yes. Or extremely exhausted. One of the
That's
two.
fine. He can be exhausted. He doesn't have to run.
That's true.
It's true. It's true, he doesn't.
Please don't cheat on her.
Well, my takeaway of this whole game is that it comes back to the mentality. Once you go down a man, a lot of the value of the game's gone. But I will say that, relatively speaking, you're talking about one of the best teams in the league out there in LA. Place Dallas has never won. They're the champs and whatever. You're down a man. You're down a goal. And the team rallied, right? They showed some toughness. They kept LA relatively quiet. They're missing their entire midfield is missing. You know what I mean? It's not a good result by any means, but there are little signs that you can say, okay, this team's the top half of the table team. This is not terrible. This is not you're the worst team in the league. You know what I mean? It's not a burn the house down result. It's a shit happens and we move on result.
Given how bad that first 15 minutes was, do we say it was puke and rally?
Yeah, sure.
You could.
It's fair. That 15 minutes is horrible. Don't get me wrong, but like you didn't in the past. There's teams that from this club that would have had that first 15 minutes and given up the goal and been like that 4-1, 5-1, 5-0, 8-1 to the Galaxy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there is a long list of MLS clubs that would have been in that exact same scenario and melted and lost that game by multiple goals. And I had a note in there that I wrote at some point, probably late in the second half, where I was like, any fair-minded neutral watched this game and went, you know what, Dallas actually, it looks like if they had all their parts, they may have something going on there. Because there are moments where, all throughout the season, where the team's capable of putting together some really beautiful soccer. They don't always turn it into goals, but there's a diamond in there that just needs to be polished a little bit.
I mean, they were down a man from 35 minutes, and they had a legit shot to get out of there with a point. If Paz doesn't, and Paz has bailed them out many times, so he can have one. That's fine. But to be in it with the champs, I know it's early in the season, but there's things here that can make you feel relatively good about the team. It's not a soul-crushing loss.
Okay, so coming up next is Portland. Buzz, do you think Sebastian plays in that game or starts? I guess probably
Man,
my
that's
first
tough.
question. Do you think he's going to start?
I think if Paxton's back, I think that they will not start him.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. I'd have to, as a coach, I would want to talk to him. I want to see how he feels. Like if he's, again, I'm a big believer in body language. If he seems like he's carrying himself negatively, I might just say, you can Paxton can handle it. We'll put in Siki, or maybe this is a game we'll start Jimenez, or, there were some components of that shape. And coach talked on the press conference today. He talked about how with Velasco as the 10 in that system, because it's a 4-2-3-1 specifically, not something they've used much before. He said the idea was Velasco and Jesus both play this false 9, false 10 combo kind of thing, and so they could take turns sort of going at them. There's some qualities to that are nice. You can go straight 4-4-2 and put in Jimenez. If Martinez is back, you could go 3. So you have other options, and depending on, and Portland's not playing really well. They're 1-3-1, right? So they're not super good. They're not super athletic and vertical these days. So maybe it's a good game for Martinez to get back if he's healthy. You're at home. I think you don't necessarily need to force Lletget in there. You're going to have Giovanni, goodness, I can say his name correctly. Giovanni Jesus in there.
I'm sorry. I screwed you up when I started calling him Giovanni.
I know,
Jesus.
now I can't just call him Jesus. Now the thing with him is that he's really good in the offensive third, but coming out of the back in training, I can tell you that he will occasionally make the wrong choice. He too often will just pass it right into the middle of the field, expecting there to be somebody there without looking, because he's a young player still. So you're going to have to be ready for him to make a mistake or two. And that would be a reason why I would bring back Martinez if he's healthy, because that shifts Nkosi to right center back, and Nkosi has more recovery pace and could make up for an error better. So that's what I would do if it was my team and Martinez is healthy. That's a big question. And then I keep Edwin and I bring in Paxton. And then whether I go with Siki or whether I change the shapes or whatever will be up for discussion. Paxton and Edwin is a better double pivot for me, because one of them has more of an 8 component to it. That's the 6-8 combo is what I like better in a double pivot. So I might look at that same formation again, perhaps, or a 4-4-2 with Jimenez if he's ready to go 90.
Yeah, that was one of the elements of the game that I don't think we talked about, was Velasco ended up playing kind of that 10 position.
Yeah, not bad, right?
That we talked about. I think we talked about that the previous pod, didn't we? Is that as an idea?
Yeah, it's one of the options, of course, with him is in there. We've seen it in training fairly often. He wasn't terrible by any means. Obviously, he was slightly uncomfortable, but he plays a false 9, he plays a false wing all the time anyway. And you know how much he likes to drift around under those positions. They give him a lot of freedom, and that's why Farfan has to do so much work on that side. It actually, in order to play that way, of course, you have to bring in Obrian, so which you don't like, but that's why you might go the other way.
Well, what about this idea? What about leaving Ariel on the right and Velasco on the left, and putting Jesus is the 10 and Jimenez up top? Can Jimenez start as the 9 in this game?
Yeah, you could definitely do that, or you could stick with Facundo, Edwin, and Paxton in front of him. So Jimenez being able to start or not just is going to depend on whether a coach thinks he's match fit, because he hasn't played since late October, I think it was.
Right.
So that was coach's biggest thing on Jimenez, was that they're still trying to get him up to 90 minutes fitness. So that's not. It doesn't happen overnight, but we're getting close. It's got to be close. It's been a full month that he's been here now. So, Dan, you like any of those formations better, Dan?
I couldn't leave that to you, Buzz.
Okay. You don't even have to take it all, man.
No, I was actually I was too busy looking up Portland's injuries.
Oh, we'll go ahead with Portland injuries then.
Oh no, we're talking about formations. All right. No, I was looking up. I was trying to figure out why Portland hasn't. They won on the opening day and they've been crap ever since. And that opening day game was SKC, so they've been crap ever since last season, really. But then I just looked at the injuries, and Felipe Mora's out, David Ayala's out, Sebastian Blanco's out, Tigay Koba's out, Yumi Chara's out, Christian Paredes is out, Ivando's out. They just lost David Bingham last week to injury. He did his hamstring at the end of that game. So, they've got a really great five-a-side team in the training room.
This is one of those games where if you're a fan of their team, this is how when Dallas fans feel when we go to Seattle or LA, because it's like Dallas has beaten them 8 straight home games here in Texas. They've only won here once ever. That Dallas has won like 11 not lost in like 11 straight home games. The Timbers have lost like 3 or 4 straight on the road. It's like all that stuff is piling up. It doesn't mean you still have to take care of business. You still have to get it done. Ordinarily I would say the heat here is a problem for Portland. So hopefully it'll be relatively warm because they're not going to be used to that at all coming out of Portland.
I think rain is predicted for Saturday.
Oh shit, they're used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
That plays in their favor.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that point to where this is a game that if you're Dallas and you think you're good, this is a game you should stomp Portland into the ground. This should not even be close.
This is hopefully not the same as the New York Red Bulls game when we all said the same thing.
Yeah. Hopefully the team's not listening or reading us kind of thing because it's true. But,
I was surprised to see this. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought Dallas had a better record than this against Portland. Dallas's record with Portland is 10 wins, 10 draws, and 11 losses. But Dallas is unbeaten in 8 in their last 8 regular season home matches against Portland. They've won 6 and drawn 2.
Yeah. This is a tough place for Portland to play.
The last time they won in Dallas in a regular season game was October 2014, this says.
Yeah, these are all reasons why, it's not that big a deal if you don't bring Sebastian back for this game. Yeah. It's okay, because you don't, you should be able to control this game in your home field as long as Paxton's back. If Paxton's not back, which he should be because he was on the bench last game, so he was technically clear to play. Remember, he's not hurt. You might as well let Lletget sit on the bench. Don't rush him back in there and cram him in there and put all this weight on him. Let him sit over there on the bench and bring him in late. Bring him in the last 10 minutes left. See how it goes,
Update on the forecast. Saturday night, partly cloudy, lows in the lower 50s. So there you go. No
My
rain.
only thought about Lletget is that, his current thing is the mental state, right? That's what we're worried about. So it's like if he comes to you as a coach and he says, Coach, I really feel like I need to be out there. I really need to play, then I would be like, okay, you're in. But if you feel like he's not looking confident, he's feeling like he's a little nervous, be like, you know what? We got this one. You can sit on the bench next to me and we'll bring you in late in the game,
I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. I'm me. I would think that's the type of activity you would want to do to get your mind off of the things that are bothering you. Yeah. Like you don't think about it. Like it's a time away from your troubles. So I guess we'll find out. We'll find out on Saturday.
It depends how kind of fragile it is, because if someone's going to shit talk him, they've got ammo.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
if that spurs him on, and great, put him on the field. If that's going to distract him, maybe sit him.
Yeah.
And only the coach and Sebastian will know the right answer to this question. And even coach might get it wrong. You hope he gets it right. It'll depend on, I don't know Sebastian Lletget anywhere near enough to be able to tell you what the choice would be. My gut instinct is that Sebastian Lletget's a pretty confident guy, and that he would want to get right back out there. That's kind of how I feel. But at the same time, it's like maybe you need to protect him from himself. This is a tough call, man. It's just, you'd think it's like, it's no big deal. If he's ready to go, he's ready to go. I don't know. This is a lot of attention, a lot of heat.
All right, so the game is 7:30 at Toyota Stadium. By the way, kickoff is at 7:39, and it is one of the select Apple TV free games, so you don't have to have the MLS Season Pass subscription to watch the game on Apple TV this particular Saturday. By the way, speaking of the Lletget thing, further, just because we all here at Third Degree strive for the deepest and most insightful reporting on topics important to you, the good pod listener, there was a photograph released today by the fiance in question, Becky G. She's sitting in I guess like a dressing room, and she's posing and taking a photo of herself. And there was some back and forth as to whether or not she had if her ring was on her left hand, because there had also been a photo of her at the Angel City game also over the weekend. She's also an investor in the NWSL LAFC Angel City team, where she was not wearing her ring, which was a part of this whole story and which kind of inflamed it. Buzz, I want you to know that I did some investigation. I actually took a photo recreating the pose, because I was confused by the mystery of the mirror. I always get confused about how mirrors work. And I had talked myself into, no, the phone she's holding in her hand's her left hand and there's no ring there. No, Peter, you big dummy, that's not how mirrors work. Yeah. And the hand on her knee is actually her left hand. So I had to actually go recreate the photo in a bathroom in my house just to prove this out to myself. There you go.
That's totally the cover of the pod now.
Yes, I've supplied Buzz the photo that I produced for this. So that's the kind of thing us here at Third Degree are willing to do for you.
It's quality research right there.
Free podcasts that you get for nothing, right?
Are you sure you didn't make that on Mid-Journey?
I should have made it on Mid-Journey. I didn't even think about that. The other thing I will announce is because this obviously got nominated for its addition to the list. Now, if you're not familiar with quote-unquote the list, dear pod listener, this is a blog posting we put together back during the pandemic, right, Buzz? 2020 is when it started, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it was because of the pandemic and the crazy stories that were coming out of the pandemic that we all kind of started to think about,
the Cheetos thing.
The Cheetos story, that's what it was. We were like, if you just go year by year in this club's history dating back to 1996, what kind of like annual collection of just insanity of things that have happened to and this club and things this club has done to itself. And it turned out there is at least one, if not multiple things every year. And it's been a long-standing post on Buzz's blog, thirddegree.net. Is it called The Curious History of FC Dallas Burn? I think is something like that.
Yep.
We've never really come up for a good name for it.
That's a good name.
And when I went to go add this for 2023, it dawned on me, we never updated 2022. So the list now is up to date through this year, including this particular story as we know it to this moment. We'll update it as details develop. But you should go check that out if you've never read it. I think it's very entertaining. I don't know how, especially if you're somebody new to the team and you don't know all the history and all the crazy stories that have happened, prior to like 2010 or something like that. It's a pretty remarkable run of misfortune.
It's been a loony journey, and that document is all the evidence you need of that.
Yes. So there you go. And I also want to put a big thanks out to those of you in the Discord who helped me sort out the final numbers on the defunct 1% program, because last year was the year that we unofficially, off the record on background, was finally admitted to had been sunsetted very quietly without notifying anybody officially. So we've added it as a 2022 edition. All right. Next up on the list, written in red crayon, would be, let's see, no training report because Buzz, remember everybody, you're supposed to email Gina and remind her, alert her to the fact that Buzz deserves special bonus favors.
For not going to training, yeah.
Right. We've talked about hosting the Timbers. Yeah. Looky, everybody. North Texas played and won a game to start off their MLS Next Pro season.
They did against LAFC 2, which took place in Fullerton, which is hysterical if you know anything about the way LAFC conducts their business. The opposite of the senior team game, in the sense that LAFC went down a man and tried to rally, and North Texas SC won. The big takeaway from that game is two takeaways I think are important. The smaller one is a young man named Diego Garcia, he's 16 years old, signed from El Paso Locomotive, looked pretty bright, I have to say, in his first impression, considering he's 16 years old. The second, the bigger takeaway, is that because Antonio Carrera was with the US U20s, Nolan's with the US 19s, but that wasn't impactful for this particular story. Antonio Carrera's gone, so my dude Julian Eyestone started in net and was the man of the match with a PK save and a couple other really nice saves. And it's just what a luxury this club has that they have him and Carrera like 2 years apart. The kid's going to be going to Duke this fall unless something different happens. And I'm it's just unbelievable how big he is and how talented he is. A guy 6'6.5" to be as athletic as he is, and he has a mentality and the soccer smarts and everything. The guy's going to be an absolute superstar in goal. And
can we officially give him a nickname? I thought of one that I think is regionally appropriate.
You can try it out and see how it goes.
I think we should dub him the Live Oak.
The Live Oak, because he's a tree.
Yes. He's an absolute tree of a human being.
He is. He's got a big reach. It's funny when you see him standing in front of a goal. He just like reaches up like way over the goal with his arms, and he's almost like pole to pole. It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
How big he is.
And he's only 9 years old. That's the most amazing part.
Nine. He's older than 9, but
very funny.
People got caught off guard by the idea that he was going to Duke this year because he's actually only a junior in high school. He's only 16. He'll be 17 next month. So but he's graduating because he took a bunch of extra classes, finished up all his work early, reclassified they call it, and so he's going to Duke a year early. So that way, like he'll come out of Duke this fall, and he'll be turning 18 in April of next year. So that's when people can start. European clubs could look at him for perhaps signing him to what's called a pre-contract, basically. So if Dallas doesn't take care of business this summer and lets him go to Duke, then the bidding is going to be on come January next year for this kid, because believe me, there's lots of European teams watching him already.
I bet.
Hopefully they can get him. There's a balance here that has to happen between Carrera being under contract and Jimmy Maurer is still a pretty good player and a big part of the locker room here. I think probably at the end of this year, it'll be time for, if Carrera's not going to be the number 2, then maybe it's time for him to go start in the USL Championship maybe, and then kind of open up some spots. So management of these young keepers, even though a keeper's not going to be your guy till he's like 24, 25 probably, you still have to figure out how to maintain them and build them from now until then. And Drew Keyshawn's an amazing goalkeeper coach. You got to have a plan. It's not just money. It's PT, it's plans, it's training, the right environments, all that kind of stuff. All matters to these kids and their people, their families, and their agents now. It's all, huge. So.
Hey, real quick about the LAFC game, real quick kit talk. Did we know Dallas had white shorts this season?
Yes, we knew that was possible. The press release on the Dallas white kit says the preferred color of short is black.
But did they ever show us what? Had we seen the white shorts?
We'd not seen it. We knew they had them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I didn't know they
mentioned it.
Okay. I'm a visual guy. If you didn't show them to me, I don't think they exist until they show up.
Well, they do now.
Game.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. And by the way, speaking of kit, Buzz, what glory is this tornado kit shirt that you've thrown in our WhatsApp group?
Yeah, if you listen to the Soccer 90 ad at the beginning of the show or the one later tonight, that is a brand new tornado jersey that is being launched by Soccer 90 tonight as we record. We're getting the chance to sort of let people know about it. It'll be in the stores by the time you're hearing this podcast. Someone I know may have already bought one. Just saying. So it's pretty.
It's a white shirt with blue trim, and on the hem of the sleeve and the collar, it says it has the tornado word mark, and it has the number 67. Which is that changeable, or is that just a
no? That's the 1967 launch of the Dallas Tornado.
Right. Okay. Well, I knew that was what it was referenced to. I just didn't know if you could get it in whatever number you wanted. That's fantastic. How much are they? Do we know?
I think it was a base $60. I don't know. I used the code Third Degree, and I got 20% off.
All right.
Yeah. So
ring up my buddy Andrew.
It's pretty nice, right?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
What's going on? Can I mow your yard for you?
For a shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we didn't have anything else listed on the sheet here. I did want real quick.
I got one more.
Oh,
but go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna mention real quickly. I hope everybody takes a moment to realize and recognize and enjoy the fact that when your national team plays 2 games of meaningful note and in that process scores, I don't know, however many goals it was, 8 goals or whatever it was over the course of the 2 games, if you just take a moment and account for how many of the actual goals and assists were the byproduct of a player that as some way, shape, or form had a relationship with this club, I think you should take a moment to take great pride in that, because I think that's just damn cool.
I went one further and I tried to make a all FC Dallas Academy product 11, like a legitimate, like right this minute.
Was great.
11, and I think it's pretty good. And I wanted to
Buzz,
keep,
it's great.
Yeah, I wanted to keep the 4-3-3 that the team currently plays because I try to make it legitimate. Now, I'm not, again, let's not go crazy. I'm not suggesting they do this. It's just an exercise for fun. So striker Ricardo Pepi, and then I put Jesus and Zendejas on the wings because after them it's Dante Sealy and nothing. The two linking eights are Weston, and I went with Paxton because of his experience. But you could go with Chris Kappas or Tanner Tessman.
Yeah.
The holding mid is Kellen Acosta because he just came out of the World Cup doing that very thing. Left gap back is Jonathan Gomez, who's a superstar on the rise. Center back, Chris Richards. And again, I went with Tanner Tessman there because of my dream of Tanner Tessman center back thing, but I blew that. That should be Reggie Cannon. That's who it should have been. Because you can look at like Che, Tompkinson, Carrera, Moises Hernandez, Nolan Norris. There's lots of guys there that are like, ugh. But and then I even mentioned that Reggie's been playing right center back at his club, and then totally didn't put him in at the other center back. So that's dumb on my part. And then I have Brian Reynolds at right back, and you could have picked Shaq Moore or Reggie there instead if you want. Keeper's a problem. Jesse Gonzalez is who it should be, but it's not. So really you're stuck with Antonio Carrera or Eyestone or Richard Sanchez. And so I picked Carrera just because he's at least a U20 at this point. But you know, it's so much fun exercise. The defense is a little young and very offensive, but it was a ton of fun to come up with that thing. And if you look at it, it really is like a legitimate, you could run that out in CONCACAF and compete. I mean, you're not going to win the Gold Cup or whatever, but, you know, every guy in there has got caps, you know, sometimes multiple. Some of them are more future than now, but, you know, it's super, super exciting to be able to just even potentially do that. It's just nuts.
Well, okay, of the 29 MLS teams, how many other MLS teams could put a squad together that could compete against that team?
I don't know. If you make it about the absolute like current, because that was the thing, is it's not an all-timer. It's like today, well, could you do this?
Right.
And it's only Academy products. So it doesn't even have like the Funes Mori brothers, or it doesn't even have like Zimmerman or guys that have come through here. It's only Academy products. And to be able to actually field an 11 and pretty much a 2 deep, to be honest, that's just insane. It's nuts what this Academy's done.
I don't think there is another MLS club that could put together a legit 11.
Philly is the closest maybe, but I'd have to do the thing to figure it out. But it's like, you know, in a couple of years, there might be a couple more that can do it. But right now, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you guys that listen to the pod should be spreading that all over social media, sharing it with everybody and all your friends of other clubs. Especially ones in Texas that are struggling at the moment.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, it came to the attention late last night that if you're into youth soccer and the academy stuff, you probably will care about this.
Yes, youth soccer drama moment.
Yeah, Solar SC is apparently, now they have not made an official announcement, but apparently they're leaving MLS Next. That's incredible news if it happens. I don't know whether it's incredible good or incredible bad, but it's incredible. It's really noteworthy because they are by far the second best team in Dallas and DFW. They are legitimately competitive with most MLS sides in terms of MLS Next. They're better than almost all the non-MLS Next teams. And basically they're going to go ECNL only. I think it's important to understand that at Solar, the girls' side is probably the best in the nation, certainly the best in Texas by a long shot. You know, the girls' side holds a lot of power, and so ECNL holds a lot of power. And it's going to be absolutely fascinating what happens over the next year or two to the boys' side of Solar and or to the landscape of ECNL and MLS Next in general, because this is kind of a bell cow note here that Solar's leaving, because this is a big one.
Because Texans doesn't participate in MLS Next, do they?
No, they do not. They got out from like when they left the Developmental Academy folded from U.S. Soccer Control and went to MLS Control. There was a bunch of teams that said no thanks, and Texans was one of them that did that. So Solar is the only other Dallas team that plays in MLS Next. All the rest of them are in ECNL. So you know, they're FC Dallas is going to be left playing. Mostly MLS pro teams and not pro teams, MLS Next teams and traveling more. Now, the thing is that most academies in MLS, the MLS teams have given up U19s anyway, and that almost none of them have U16s. So those two brackets were already hardly any MLS teams left because And so the long-term future of this whole thing is still up in the air. I don't think there's anywhere near the final form of what youth soccer is going to look like. These kind of seismic things like Solar leaving show you that there's issues underneath this whole structure. It's not solid. It's shifting. And so if you're in that business, or if you care about these things with the academy and the development of professionals, I can't help but think that this isn't going to leave Dallas as the only real pathway to the pro game in Dallas. FC Dallas is. So maybe that means some of the best Solar guys will already start jumping, and wanting to come to Dallas. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but I can't imagine if you think you're going to be a pro, why would you stay there now? If you're not going to, they didn't have a pro pathway before, but at least you were competing against the other clubs that had pro pathways, and now you're not. ECNL is more about college soccer than it is pro soccer, so it's kind of weird. I can't speak for them for why they did it. Apparently, they had some kind of vote, maybe, and have chosen to leave. It's really a head scratcher. I'm sure they'll tell you that it's a good reason for it, but anyway,
this is the moment where angry British dude just shakes his head in disgust over the American soccer system.
Yeah,
it's not a lot different to our system, really.
Really? Is it not?
No, not particularly.
No.
You get your professional clubs, have your academies or schools of excellence, you have your youth-focused clubs, or, lower down the totem pole in the adult game. Pay-to-play does exist. I don't know, everyone makes out that it's an American exclusive thing. It absolutely is not. It is more expensive here, though. It happens, if it's related to money, you'd hope that they do take the drop instead of trying to go on in MLS Next and finding themselves shit out of luck one day.
Yeah. When Texans withdrew from MLS Next, in my opinion, they have gotten worse as a collective because they no longer can hold on to the guys that are of a pro kind of distinction. My anticipation is that same thing will happen with Solar, and that so 2 years from now, the landscape in Dallas is going to change. Will some other team, DKSC, BVB, I don't know, somebody will somebody take a slot that they get offered by MLS Next? Will somebody else move to the top of the everybody but FC Dallas pile because they're going to take a shot and jump in there and maybe be able to get some of these guys that are, because every year Dallas recruits and then lets guys go and cuts down, and some of those guys are pretty damn good. And still want to have a chance to try and move into MLS Next and profess to the pro game.
But what is the advantage to a Solar or any club going into MLS Next if they can't provide a path to the pros for those kids?
Well, it depends on where you live and what the level is around you and where the colleges are looking.
Just Dallas, if I think I understand why Solar does this is because it's like because if they're going to lose kids to FC Dallas, because those kids want to end up playing in MLS, then why the hassle of playing in MLS Next? Why just not go play in ECNL? Because now you're going to be able to put teams together that are less likely to end up losing kids to FC Dallas.
Yeah, if you're trying to make money, but if you're trying to be the best club you can be, and have the best players you can have, I think you're now not going to get those guys that are of the caliber of your Bailey Sparks or your Blaine Ferries. Your guys like Paxton who jumped to FC. He came from Texans. It's a bad example. Eyestone, I think, was at Solar for a couple of minutes. Dallas just recruited 3 guys from their U17 team. So it's like maybe you're tired of having guys leave, and so you just be like, we'll just play ECNL. Maybe.
Yeah, that's
again. I can't speak for them. I think. I honestly think that like most of the really high level, big time Division I programs are all recruiting out of MLS Next and not ECNL. I can look at the clubs out here in Dallas, and there's not a whole lot of like superstar college programs digging into those ECNL teams. There are a little bit, but not. It's the MLS Next level teams that are getting all the love, as far as I know. Granted, I'm not a college recruiting expert, but that's what I see happening.
Yeah.
The kids from Solar and FC Dallas that go to SMU are almost always these MLS Next guys. Every once in a while, you get a guy from some other town, like a kid came out of Austin from Lone Star, I think this last year, went to SMU, but most of them are MLS Next level teams, and what used to be Austin Lone Star, for example, just got bogarted by Austin FC. So like that's what happened to that club. So, it's a weird landscape, man. I don't envy the guys trying to work in it. It's tough.
Well, everybody's scrambling to try to position
Yeah.
themselves for for 2026. Like everybody wants to have their S together to capitalize on when that happens and when that celestial event occurs. And I just think it's going to get messier before it gets better, unfortunately.
It could also just be, if they're kind of taking their position, okay, the best male players are going to go to FC Dallas regardless, and they are probably the best women's development path right now in the country. Just build on that. Put all your resources into that. Get a WPSL team. Build up to, or a USLY. Build up to, a bid for an NWSL team, and be the women's club in DFW in North Texas.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Because Sting's not where they were. Texans, even before they left MLS Next, were a shadow of themselves. There's not really a whole lot going on, so it's there for the taking.
Yes, the crazy world of youth academy, etc. soccer.
It's nutty.
It is nutty. Dallas Cup starts this particular weekend, Buzz. You're doing a ton of coverage of that, I assume, sir.
Yeah, I'm a long way through my little club roster things that I do for each of the teams. I've got maybe like U15s and down left, non-academy. I just did the 2 GA Cup ones today.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, there's like 7 names on the U17 roster for the GA Cup that I've never seen or heard of before today.
For Dallas or just in general? Oh, really?
For Dallas. There's like 5. There's a couple of dudes that are hurt, and then there's some guys that are like these in between tweener kind of guys that bounce back and forth between ECNL and FC Dallas and the academy. Those guys are missing along with the injured guys, and there's 7 names I've never heard of, whether they're guest players or extended trialists or guys that have just been added to the roster at the last second. I had somebody tell me that last week the U17 team, the FC Dallas U17 team, had 13 trialists alone last week.
Wow.
Well, part of the reason that happens at the U17 team is because almost all the other MLS teams got rid of their 19 team. And Dallas is one of the few ones left that has a U19 team. So they get all these U17s that want to come and try out so that they can come to Dallas for the 19s next fall, which is like, 5 months from now or whatever. So it's a mixture of all those. So it's really aggressive at the U17 level for Dallas because everybody wants to come here because of that. But it just underscores what happened last summer when Dallas went really crazy with recruiting. They're doing it again, man. They've become really aggressive about turning over the teams. If you're not pushing it at the top level, man, they're going to go find somebody else. So, which is good. That's a good thing.
We will always encourage you, anybody relatively new to listening to this pod or new to the area or have never been to a Dallas Cup game, it is worth taking some time off from work during the week.
Yes.
You don't even have to spend any money. Go to MoneyGram. Go to Richland College. Go out to the fields just north of the stadium. Whatever is near you. You can look it up at dallascup.org and see the schedule. Go watch teams from other countries play. It's so much worth your time.
The Super Group is amazing.
Yeah, the super group's amazing, but sometimes it's fun to go watch a U14 game or a U16 game and from a team from Japan or Brazil, and just it's the best. It's just the farting best, and Dallas is so lucky to have this thing happen every year. And this is really the first time it's really back in full blossom since the pandemic. So 100% worth your time.
If you want to go watch a low-level team, go watch the FC Dallas U13 team. I'm trying to dial up the tweet. I can't get to it fast enough, but I added up their record, and I think they're 17-0-1, no losses and 1 tie, and they've outscored their opponents by again, I don't have the tweet in front of me, 80-13 or something. It's like they are absolutely a juggernaut.
It's the FC Dallas
U13 team. Yeah.
So is this the team you've been talking about kind of quietly for a while with all the little super studs on it?
Yeah, that's the one where people have been telling me hey, go watch this kid, go watch that kid. And that team, it's just like everyone that talks about it talks about how incredible it is. It's just this confluence of talent, where Dallas has had a couple of years that are a little light here and there, and they've gone out and done this heavy recruiting. Not that one, they haven't, because It's just an absolutely ridiculous level of talent in that little team. Now, again, they're 12, but when you're talking about pro scouting, man, these guys start building profiles on these kids when they're 8, 9, 10, 11. By the time they're the U13s, they already have a bunch of those kids like, these guys are going to be pros. We know, it's ridiculous. Now, stuff can derail anybody. Nobody's a lock, but when you're 17-0-1 and outscoring your opponents by like an 80 to whatever kind of clip, that's ridiculous.
That is.
So go watch that team play.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. All right, very good. Buzz, would you like me to read the ChatGTP story?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Shh, everybody, very quietly. This was written by an AI program. It was a warm night in April in 2023 when rumors about Sebastian Lletget's infidelity hit the internet. Becky G fans were quick to take to social media to express their outrage and demand justice. As rumors spread like wildfire, Becky G fans grew angrier and more restless. They were convinced that Lletget had betrayed their beloved queen and they wanted him to pay. As the days went by, as rumors intensified, and the evidence against Lletget began to pile up, he failed to show up for FC Dallas games, citing personal reasons, and Becky G was spotted in public without her engagement ring. The fans knew that something was amiss, and they were determined to get to the bottom of it. On the night of the incident, a mob of Becky G fans, known as Beasters, stormed Toyota Stadium, the home of FC Dallas. They were angry, they were desperate, and they were out for blood. They overpowered security and demanded to find and punish Lletget, who was nowhere to be found. And in their rage, the fans destroyed the stadium, setting fire to the stands and tearing down the goals. The stadium was left in ruins, a smoldering heap of rubble and ashes, but as fate would have it, this act of destruction would ultimately lead to the birth of something incredible. In the years that followed, the city poured its resources into rebuilding the stadium. They spared no expense, creating a state-of-the-art facility that was the envy of the world. It had a retractable roof, a safe standing section, and a laser light show that would put even the biggest rock concert to shame. And as the fans flocked back to the new stadium, marveling at its beauty and grandeur, they couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. The very thing that had destroyed had given birth to something even greater. And in a way, they were part of its legacy, a testament to the power of passion and the unyielding spirit of soccer fans everywhere.
I like the sound of a new stadium. That sounds good.
Just the blossom of something beautiful out of the ruins.
Out of the ruins of the smoldering wreckage of Toyota Stadium. Well, hopefully it doesn't come back.
Of Becky G and Lletget's battle. That's the okay.
Leading to the wreck of the stadium. We live in a weird world, man.
We do live in a very weird time. If imagine us having this like Back to the Future conversation in the year 1998. Imagine in 25 years, a player is dating a superstar singer and cheats on her, or allegedly does, or whatever. Yeah,
I want to go back to like the 1996 version of me that had just recently, like a year before that, gotten email for the first time and explain what ChatAi was.
Yes. Yeah, that's the ridiculous part. That is so stupid. All right. Well, Dan, anything else you'd like to chat about this evening, or have we sucked up too much of your time for the night?
You know what? This has been magical. I think it's been perfect as it's been.
All right. Very good. Thank you, sir. Buzz, as always, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy your Dallas Cup experience starting on Sunday.
I'm sure I will. It's going to be fantastic. And we also launched our new merch store, so everybody go out there and check out the new swag.
So have you gotten any of it yet?
Yeah, it's really nicely done, actually.
Yeah, it's high quality stuff. And this is a local company you're working with?
No, it's a national company, but they're tailored to creators, so it's good customer service and the margins are better and the quality's better. It's really well done.
I love to hear that. And I like the fact that you can add the term creator to your business card, sir.
Yeah, that's true. I can.
Love it.
Third Degree, the podcast, has been brought to you by Soccer90.com. Check out all the latest FC Dallas, North Texas SC, and U.S. Men's National Team gear. And this week, grab that sweet, sweet Dallas Tornado jersey that we talked about on the broadcast. It's a white base with the powder blue trim and the 67 on the front. This is a classic. It's really good. Soccer 90's Dallas Tornado collection. Use code Third Degree for 20% off on your tar order, including that jersey. Some exclusions apply, but not that jersey. Go get it. Tornado. It's awesome.
All right, well, Dallas, Portland, 7:30 Saturday night. Let's go get the win. Go Burn. And thank you, FC Dallas Curious fan, for listening. We will speak to you next week on another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
This episode was recorded entirely by AI.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.